Students, now we are going to begin with questions which will be involving the trigonometric terms. So here we are going to make use of the nth derivative formulas of sin x and cos x. We remember the nth derivative of sin ax plus b is a raised to n sine of ax plus b plus n pi by 2. Likewise, students, if I want to get the nth derivative of cos ax plus b, it again simply comes out to be a raised to n cos of ax plus b plus n pi by 2. So now if you observe the questions which are written on the board, you can see there is sin x into cos 3x, sin 2x into cos 6x, cos x, cos 2x, cos 3x, sin 2x, sin 3x, cos 4x, sin x, sin 2x, sin 3x, isn't it? Now all these questions are based on the factorization and de-factorization formulas. Now students, you must be recalling the factorization formulas are given as sin c plus sin d, isn't it? Sin c minus sin d, then cos c plus cos d, and cos c minus cos d. You should be aware of all these four formulas. These are called as the factorization formulas. Likewise, students, we also know the de-factorization formulas. In the de-factorization formulas, we have something like this. We have 2 sin a into cos b, that's the very first formula. Then you have 2 cos a into sin b, that's the second formula. Then you have 2 cos a into cos b, and finally you can have 2 sin a into sin b. So here we are going to extensively make use of the de-factorization formulas. So I'm going to write those formulas for reference. So as I said, the very first formula I'm going to write for 2 sin a into cos b. So 2 sin a into cos b. Now students, always remember that angle A is having a greater value than angle B. Now of course it does not matter how the angles are represented or how they are placed. The order is not important, but as far as possible, always try to maintain the higher angle, the highest angle of the two at the beginning, and then you take the lower angle. So sin A and cos B, I am assuming that angle A is having a greater value than angle B. So the first formula, 2 sin A into cos B, is going to come sin A plus B plus sin A minus b. That's the very first de-factorization formula. Now students, the second one can be 2, you switch the terms, cos A into sin B. So that's 2 cos A into sin B. The formula is going to be now sin A plus B, and you have a negative sign in between. That's the only difference you'll be observing here. Minus of sin A minus b. So that's the second formula. Then the third formula, students, is for cos. So 2 cos A into cos B. The answer is going to be cos A plus B plus cos A minus b. And finally you have 2 sin A into sin B. This formula is, this is very important. Observe the difference over here. It is cos of A minus B. All other three formulas that you can see, the first angle is always A plus B. Here it is A minus B. So cos A minus B minus of cos A plus B. So you want to keep an eye on your fourth formula. This is an important one. This is a slightly different formula than the rest of the three. So here the first angle is A minus B. So these formulas belong to the de-factorization group. They are de-factorization formulas. So these all questions that you can see on the board, they will extensively make use of the de-factorization formula. So students, we are going to solve fourth and fifth question. Let's take fourth and fifth question. So rest of the questions will come for homework. So let us begin with the fourth question first of all. Now always when you are starting with this type of question, make sure, as I said, angle A is always greater than angle B. It is having a larger value than angle B. So whenever you are solving a question where such kind of trigonometric terms are involved, always make sure that you write the highest angle at the beginning and then you keep on descending further. So always begin from the higher angle, then the next higher angle, then the next higher angle, and so on. You should be rearranging the terms. So let's take the fourth question. You can observe there is sine 2x, sine 3x and cos 4x. Very easily I can understand that I need to first of all write cos 4x because it is the higher angle. So I'm going to write my question here. So y is equal to, we have, I'm going to reverse the order. So the first angle that I'm going to write is cos 4x. So I write y is equal to cos 4x. Then the next angle is obviously it is going to be sine 3x. So cos 4x into sine 3x into sine 2x. That's my question now. Students, have you observed that all these de-factorization formulas have a 2 along with them, isn't it? That's 2 sine a cos b or 2 cos a sine b. So every time a 2 is coming. In this particular term, we don't have a 2. Further, there are 3 terms involved, isn't it? So the de-factorization formula is available only for product of 2 terms. There are 3 terms, so there is no big worry over here. What I will do is, I know a into b into c. I can write a into b into c. That this is called as what? The association of the terms. So here, first of all, I need a 2 and then I need to associate at the beginning only 2 terms. So I'm going to write my next step as y becomes equal to 1 upon 2 into, see, I have brought 1 upon 2, so the adjustment is 2 cos 4x into sine 3x. Have you observed I have associated cos and sine together, isn't it? And then I have multiplied by 2 and divided by 2 also. And then the last left out term, which is sine 2x. Now observe carefully, you have here 2 cos 4x into sine 3x. So this looks like 2 cos a into sine b, isn't it? That's the formula, 2 cos a into sine b. I know the formula is sine a plus b minus of sine a minus b. So let's make use of the formula here. So I get here 1 upon 2 into, maintain the bracket. So 2 cos a into sine b is sine a plus b. So I get here sine of a plus b. So that's 4x plus 3x. You get 7x minus sine of a minus b. So that's 4x minus 3x. That is going to be x. So I get sine x into sine 2x. Now students, you can easily understand that the sine 2x which is present outside the bracket will be multiplied inside the bracket. So I'll be getting 1 upon 2 now again. So let's do it in the next step. Let's first multiply sine 2x inside the bracket. So always maintain the higher angle first. So I get sine 7x into sine 2x, isn't it? That's my first term, the first multiplication. The next term is going to be sine x into sine 2x. But as I said, always maintain the higher angle first. So I'm going to write minus of sine 2x into sine x. Getting on our students now. Again, can you observe this is sine a sine b. This is sine a sine b. De-factorization formula. Again, you need a 2. A 2 is missing in this particular term. So this needs 2. This also needs 2. That means ultimately I need 2 only. This is a minus b. So if you take 1 by 2 outside and you take 2 inside the bracket, it multiplies with both the terms. So here again I'm going to get 1 by 2 which was present already there. I'm going to bring another 1 by 2. So let's bring this 1 by 2 and then inside the bracket I should be writing 2 sine 7x into sine 2x minus, again you write 2, you have sine 2x into sine x and you close the bracket. Now you can observe this is 2 sine a sine b. 2 sine a sine b. You know 2 sine a sine b is cos a minus b minus of cos a plus b. It's a very different formula, students. You always need to keep an eye on that fourth formula. So that's 2 sine a sine b. So ultimately 1 by 2 into 1 by 2 becomes 1 by 4 and inside the bracket, be very careful. Let's apply the formula for the first term over here. 2 sine 7x into sine 2x. So that gives me cos of a minus b. So that's cos of 5x minus of cos of a plus b, so that's 7x plus 2x, that gives me 9x. Now be very careful students, we are going to apply the formula for the second term, but can you see there is a negative sign over here, isn't it? A negative sign is very dangerous sign. You should be extra careful whenever there is a negative sign going to come into the solution. So that's a negative sign over here. So imagine what is the formula for this particular term, 2 sine A into sine B. So the answer is going to be cos A minus B minus of cos A plus B. But then you imagine this within a bracket because there is a negative sign. So this negative sign when goes inside the bracket, it is going to change the signs of those terms. So the first term, that cos, you can see there is a positive term. Because of this minus sign, it is going to become negative. And the second term that you see over there, it is along with a negative sign. This negative sign and that negative sign becomes a positive sign. So you need to observe the step very carefully. There is a negative sign present over here. So this negative sign is going to change the sign of the terms which are going to come ahead of it. So the first term, cos A minus B. So A is 2x. B is x, so you do a minus b, you get 2x minus x, that's x. So I'll be writing here minus of cos x, that's my first term. You can understand why the negative sign has come. And the next term is going to be plus, isn't it? So that's cos of a plus b, so that's 2x plus x, you get 3x, so I get cos of 3x. And you close the bracket. So this is the simplification of this entire term now. Now, do you recall the formula for the nth derivative of cos ax plus b? Just now I have told you, isn't it? Cos ax plus b, the nth derivative is going to be a raised to n cos ax plus b plus n pi by 2, isn't it? That's the nth derivative of cos ax plus b. Look at all these terms, they are all cos ax plus b, ax plus b, ax plus b, ax plus b. Everywhere b is 0, isn't it? So once I get y, once I have simplified y, so observe carefully, this was a product of the terms. The formula, the nth derivative cannot be applied for the product of the terms. But now look at the simplification. This cos 4x, sin 3x, sin 2x has been now simplified into 4 different terms of cos. Now I am definitely in a position to apply the formula of nth derivative. Nth derivative of the first term, then a minus sign, nth derivative of the second term, then a minus sign, again the nth derivative of the third term, then a plus sign, and finally the nth derivative of the last term. So students, let's now differentiate n times. So I can say here differentiate n times. I get yn is equal to, so nothing happens to the 1 by 4, it's a constant. So a constant term always goes outside the derivative. You differentiate any number of times. So here I'm differentiating n number of times, so the constant 1 upon 4 is going to go outside. And then look at the first term, it is cos ax plus b, b is 0, a is 5. I know that the nth derivative is a raised to n, so I write here 5 raised to n cos of ax plus b plus n pi by 2 you write, or you write n pi by 2 plus ax plus b, one and the same thing. So I write here cos of n pi by 2 plus 5x, that's the nth derivative of the first term. Then a minus sign, let's write the nth derivative of the second term now. This time here ax is 9x, b is 0, so I write here 9 raised to n into cos of n pi by 2 plus 9x, that's my nth derivative of the second term. Then let's go to the third term now, minus of cos x. So here ax, a is 1, b is 0, so minus of, I get 1 raised to n. So there is no need to write 1 raised to n because it is simply going to be 1. So I simply write cos of n pi by 2 and plus x, isn't it? And finally students, plus cos 3x, it is going to become what? So plus 3 raised to n cos of n pi by 2 plus 3x, and you remember to close the bracket because outside the bracket this 1 upon 4 was present. So students, have you observed that in this fourth question, which was actually sine 2x, sine 3x and cos 4x. What I have done here, I have rearranged the terms as if to get the greatest angle term at the beginning. So the nth derivative is over here, 1 upon 4 5 raised to n cos of n pi by 2 plus 5x and so on. The terms have come over here. So that's the solution for this particular question. So let's very quickly take the next question also. So here the next question, the fifth question, now we have again always rearrange the terms to get the biggest, the largest angle at the beginning. So who's the largest angle here? It is sine 3x. Then the next largest angle is sine 2x, and finally you have sine x. So you rearrange the terms with the greatest angle first. So I'm going to write y is equal to what? So I'm going to write my question. So y is equal to, so first term is going to be now sine 3x, then the second term is going to be sine 2x, and the third term is going to be sine x, isn't it? So again you can observe this is sine 3x into sine 2x into sine x. It is product of three different sine terms. I do not have the de-factorisation formula for all the three terms together, but I can take two terms at a time, apply the de-factorisation formula and then proceed ahead. So I'm going to associate the terms sine 3x and sine 2x. Again you can observe the formula is sine a into sine b, but it is always accompanied with a 2. So you need to bring the 2 over here. So let's bring the 2, no issues, isn't it? I just multiply and divide by 2. So I get my next step as 1 upon 2. Let's put a bracket because we are going to associate the term. I write 2 sine 3x into sine 2x into sine x, isn't it? Now people tell me what is the formula for 2 sine a into sine b. You can observe the formula for 2 sine a into sine b is cos a minus b minus of cos a plus b. It's the different formula that you always need to keep an eye on. Watch the formula very carefully. So here let's utilize the formula for the very first term over here, 2 sine a into sine b, as the formula is telling it is cos of a minus b. So I write cos of a minus b, so that's 3x minus 2x. You get cos of x, then a minus sign, then the next term is going to be cos of a plus b, so that's 3x plus 2x. It is going to be cos of 5x into, we have sine x outside the bracket. Obviously the next step is going to be multiplying the sine x inside the bracket. So it multiplies with the first term, it multiplies with the second term. So let's multiply sine x inside the bracket. I get 1 upon 2, then I put a bracket. My first term is going to be what? Cos x into sine x. Now it does not matter which term is written first, isn't it? Because both the angles are same. So you can proceed with any of the terms at the beginning. But students, don't you recall the formula for sine 2x? The formula for sine 2x, if you be recalling, it is 2 sine x into cos x. Now of course it does not matter whether I write 2 cos x into sine x or I write 2 sine x into cos x. But as per the convention, we always write the formula as 2 sine x into cos x. So here cos x into sine x, I'm going to write as 2, or the 2 is going to come later. I'll be writing 1 upon 2 and the sin x multiplies inside the bracket. You get sin x into cos x minus, as usual, the highest angle, the largest angle should be written at the beginning. So cos 5x is going to be written at the first, and the next term is going to be, or it is going to be followed by sin x. So I write here cos 5x into sin x. Now both the terms that you see inside the bracket need a 2, isn't it? Here also I need a 2, here also I need a 2. So I know how to bring this 2. I simply do the multiplication and division in the numerator denominator, isn't it? So I'll be getting now this 1 by 2 which is already present over there. I bring another 1 by 2, then I put a bracket and then I write 2, isn't it? That just meant sin x into cos x minus of, again I write 2 cos x, or I say cos 5x into sin x, isn't it? The 2 is adjusted very properly. So you can observe the very first term here, 2 sin x into cos x, is simply the formula of sin 2x, and you can observe the second term which is present over here, 2 cos 5x into sin x. So that looks like 2 cos A into sin B. Here it is 2 cos A into sin B. You know the de-factorisation formula. So let's make use of them, and you should be very careful with the negative sign which is present in between. What does the negative sign do? It will always change the sign of the terms which are present ahead of it, isn't it? So students, now outside the bracket I get 1 by 4. Let's maintain the bracket. What's the formula that you told for 2 sin x into cos x? It is simply sin 2x, then a negative sign. Be very careful, be extra careful with the negative sign. 2 cos A into sin B is this formula, sin A plus B minus sin A minus B. But who is there present before the term, before 2 cos A into sin B? There is a negative sign. So what happens to these two terms which are present ahead of the negative sign? The sign is going to change. So minus and this plus becomes minus, and you get sine of A plus B. So here sine of A plus B, so 5x plus x, that becomes sine 6x. Then there is a negative sign, but because of this negative sign present before, the minus and minus are going to turn to plus. So I write here plus, and then again you do A minus B. So that's 5x minus x, you get 4x. So you write sine of 4x. So that's now your y. The term sine 3x into sine 2x into sine x have been now simplified to sine 2x, sine 6x and sine 4x along with a negative and a positive sign. Now students, are we in a position to find the nth derivative? We remember the nth derivative of sine of ax plus b is going to be a raised to n sine of ax plus b plus n pi by 2, or you write it as n pi by 2 plus ax plus b1, and the same things. So here there are three terms of sine. So first term is sine of ax plus b, a is 2, b is 0. Second term is sine of ax plus b, a is 6, b is 0. Third term is sine 4x. Again you can observe a is 4 and b is 0. So straight away I'm going to start using the formula over here. So I'm going to write here differentiate n times, isn't it? Differentiate n times. So I get yn is equal to, nothing happens to the 1 by 4. You differentiate any number of times, the constant term always goes outside the derivative. So this 1 by 4 I'm going to bring outside the derivative. So I write 1 by 4, and then can you now tell me the nth derivative of sine 2x? It is sine of ax plus b, b is 0, a is 2. So I get 2 raised to n sine of n pi by 2 plus 2x. That's my first nth derivative, the nth derivative of the first term. Then you have a negative sign, so write a minus sign. Then sine raised to 6x, b is 0, a is 6. I get 6 raised to n into sine of n pi by 2 plus 6x, and finally you have sine of 4x. So I write plus sine of ax plus b, so a is 4. So I write 4 raised to n sine of n pi by 2 plus 4x, and remember to close the bracket because outside the bracket there was 1 by 4. So that's the answer for the next question, y equal to sine 3x, sine 2x and sine x. So students, out of the 5 questions I have explained you 2 questions, the 4th and the 5th one I am expecting that you should be solving the 3 questions 1, 2 and 3 on your own. Get the answers, make use of the de-factorisation formulas and memorize the formulas. That is very important. So students, that was all about this particular very first type in which the trigonometric terms were involved. I have made use of the nth derivatives of sine ax plus b and cos ax plus b. Now we are going to proceed further with the next type of questions.